Hey there, fourth grade. We are going to be going over all the lessons from chapter 2 to help us review for our test tomorrow. So this is a really important video for you to watch, and I would highly suggest that you watch it all the way through and get a little bit from each lesson so that you can make sure that you understand all the concepts that we learned here in this last chapter in our math series. And if you stick around all the way to the end, you'll get a little bit of help with your worksheet for today. So I highly suggest you do that, and I'm going to be moving pretty quick, so feel free to pause the video anytime that you need to do some practice on your own or to work on similar problems and make sure that you understand. So good luck. Try to stay as focused as you can. Take breaks if you need it, but really highly suggest that you watch this video and all the way through and do your best as always. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of my picture and going to go start working through all of our chapter 2 lessons, just a little bit from each. Okay, so lesson 1 was all about the properties. We learned about addition properties and subtraction rules, and all of our properties were listed at the top of our worksheet that we completed through Google Form. We have the commutative property, which means that you can change the order of numbers when you add. You can do 2 plus 5 equals 7. You can do 5 plus 2 equals 7. And no matter how you do it, you get the same answer. We get 7 no matter what. Associative property is when we have more than two numbers that we're adding together. And when we have more than two numbers, we need to be able to group numbers together that we want to add first before adding the other numbers to it. So we use things called parentheses, okay? Remember, we used our little hand symbols for parentheses. And so here it says 3 plus 7 plus 29 equals, and then you notice the order didn't change. 3 and 7 and 29 are in the same order, but the groupings change. So here we do 3 plus 7 first, which I think would be the smarter way, because then you get a 10, and adding to 10 is easy. But over here, they group 7 plus 29 first. So it doesn't matter how you group it or what order you or what groupings you do in addition, as long as you use the same numbers, you're going to get the same answer. The identity property says that any number that you add to 0 is going to equal that number. So 2,500 plus 0 is 2,500. Let's look at a few examples. We have 17 plus 0 equals 17. Well, we're adding 0, so that must be the identity property. So that would be this one. The next problem that we're looking at here shows us some parentheses. So I'm seeing 19 plus 61 plus 15 equals 19 plus 61 plus 15. The order didn't change, but the groupings did. The first grouping is 61 plus 15, and the second one is 19 and 61. We're adding all the same numbers together on both sides, though, so this is the associative property. Associative property. So associative uses parentheses for groupings. The next one, let's look at this one. 23 plus 74 equals 74 plus 23. That's the commutative property because we changed the order of the numbers. We'll still get the same answer, but the order changed depending on our liking. Okay, here we have a one that kind of looks like the identity property, but we are subtracting. So anytime that we're subtracting and we're talking about properties or rules for subtraction, as long as it's showing a rule of subtraction, which is subtracting 0 or subtracting a number from itself equal to 0, that is a subtraction rule. Okay, so the rest are just kind of going back over, but let's look at this one. Using an addition property, fill in the blank. 34 plus 82 equals blank plus 34. So when we look at that, we can see that 34 and 82 are on this side, and then only 34 is on this side. So in order to flip those around, we would put 82 in this spot. The missing number in a number sentence is called the unknown. Anytime we have something that's missing, as long as there's no letter holding its spot, it's just like a box or something, it's called our unknown. We don't know what it is, and that's what we're trying to find. So that's lesson 1. Let's move on to lesson 2. Lesson 2 is where we had addition patterns. And so we were trying to just look at place values and add or subtract certain values from them. So 100 less than 877, we're looking at the hundreds place of this number and we're going less by 1. So I would take 1 away from this 8 because 8 is in the hundreds spot, and 1 less than that is 7. So this would be 777. Okay, this one over here, 10,000 more than 6,310. There is no digit in the 10,000 spot, so I would just put a 1, because we're going more, in the 10,000 spot and make this one 16,310. Okay, skipping down to this one, 10 less than this number. 10, we're looking at the 10 spot, which is a 2, and since we're going less, we take 1 away from that 2 to make it a 1. All the other digits stay the same, and so 2,717 would be 10 less. So instead of having to calculate numbers like this, since there's lots of zeros, we can find the place value that will change, which is basically the number that we're given, since these are multiples of 10. So 1,000, we look at the thousands place. 10, we look in the tens place, and 1,000 again. On the next slide, we kind of have to determine what changed. So instead of finding an answer, we're finding the change. 1,100 plus something equals 1,200. I can tell that the hundreds place went up by 1, so I would put 100. This word problem tricked a few of you because so Angela has a pitcher of water. It can hold 384 ounces, and she gives each plant 100 ounces of water. So you would think 384 minus 100 equals 284, right? However, she waters 2 plants, so if she gives them each 100 ounces, then you have to subtract 100 twice. So this answer was actually 184 ounces. So you gotta be careful when you read those word problems. Always make sure that you're attaching your notes, especially if you are a remote learner. Thank you. Okay, moving on. This is lesson 4, and this is day 1. So you need to make sure that you can round any number to any place. This is a great one to practice, especially these few in the middle. Those are the types of numbers that we'll probably be working with, especially on a test. So rounding to the thousands place, 45,511, I would find the place, look next door, it's 5 or more, so I raise the score. So I raise the score of the thousands place. So keep the 4, raise the 5 to a 6, and everything else becomes zeros. Looking at the next slide, it's showing us what our problems will look like if we round correctly. So pretend there's some numbers over here. They rounded to these, and then we add. Rounding makes adding so much easier. So on the last slide, we get some practice with this. We need to round to the thousands place. So 47,421, find the place, look next door, 5 or more, we raise the score, 4 or less, we let it rest. This is 4 or less, my 7 stays a 7, keep the 4, keep the 7, everything else is zeros. Let's do it again. Find the place, look next door, 5 or more, we raise the score. 6 is 5 or more, so I would make that 8 and 9. Keep the 1, the 8 becomes a 9, everything else is zeros. Time to add. In fact, I'm going to switch it to this way. So I would start with my ones column. So that would be 0, and then 0, and then 0. 9 plus 7 is 16. And we're going to pretend I regrouped a 1 up here. 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 6. So this would be 66,000 as my final answer. Okay, so lesson 4 is all about estimating our sums. So make sure that you can round numbers to hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s before you add, not after you add, before you add. Next up, we have lesson 5. In lesson 5, we practiced addition. And so let's just go through a sample problem with you. Let's pick this one. So 3 plus 3 would be 6. Notice I'm starting in the ones column, always super important. 8 plus 5 is 13, but I can't write 13 like this, can I? Because it just doesn't fit right. It doesn't make sense. Keep the ones of the 13 and move the 10s to the next column. Now I add all these numbers together. 1 plus 0 plus 2 is 3. 7 plus 7 is 14. Again, I'm going to write down the ones, regroup the 10s. And 2 plus 1 again is 3. Now I start from my ones place and I count over 3 spots and then put a comma after I reach 3. Ta-da! All right. So addition, pretty basic stuff. I would highly recommend, actually, if you need some more addition practice, to look at page 119 in your math book. That's a great resource for you to get some more addition practice on paper versus on a computer. Lesson 5 is addition, so lesson 6 is subtraction. Whenever we subtract, though, we have to regroup in a way that takes from one column and brings it over to another column. So this is a little bit tricky to do on a computer. So again, if you would look at page 120 in your math book, you would find some subtraction practice that you could do on paper. And the problems are already made for you, so that makes it even better. But let's go ahead and try this problem together. Again, I'm going to start in the ones column and subtract down. Remember, swim down, just like Nemo saving the fish. You don't want to be caught by the fisherman, so make sure you swim down. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. 8 minus 6 is, you guessed it, 2. And 8 minus nothing is 8. Well, my goodness, I didn't have to regroup at all. That was awesome. Let's try another one then and see if we need to regroup. Uh-oh, right away when I swim down, I have a smaller number on top and a larger number on the bottom. So that means I can't subtract. If I have 6 pencils, I can't give 8 away. So let's go next door and take one away and move the 10 over. So now I have 16 minus 8. Oh, I can do that. That's 8. But now when I go next door, now this one doesn't have enough because I can't do 2 minus 9. That's impossible. Again, I need to just go next door to that one and bring over a 10. Now I have 12 minus 9, which is 3. That works. Uh-oh, 4 minus 6. Again, I can't do it. Let's go next door and take one away, bring over the 10, and subtract. 14 minus 6 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Let's find out where our comma goes. 1, 2, 3, comma. Great job. Knowing our vocab is very important in math because if a question uses a vocabulary term, then we're more likely to understand what the question is asking if we know what it means. So subtraction, because we can only swim down, each number has a different name because they can't move spots and be the same. So the top number in a subtraction problem is called the minuend. The second number in a subtraction problem actually looks like the word subtraction at the start, but it's subtrahend. And then the answer is the difference. You're finding what is different between this number and this number. So you're finding the difference. Lesson 7 was also a subtraction lesson, but there was some trick to it. We had zeros. And so make sure that you watch the videos that I shared for that because they'll really help you be able to understand and know how to work it out on paper. It's a little bit more tricky on a computer, but we'll try together. So let's go ahead and do number 2 together. When I have a 0 and I'm trying to take an amount away, obviously I can't because I'm starting with nothing. But then when I go next door, sometimes I run into nothing again and I can't regroup. So what I have to do is kind of box until I get a number, until I get to a digit that has value. So right next door to that 0 was a 4. So now what I have highlighted is 40. What I'm going to do is take 1 away from 40, and that becomes 39. Then I can regroup and bring my 10 over from what I just took away. So 10 minus 5, I can do that, is 5. 9 minus 4 is 5. Uh-oh, I can't do 3 minus 4, and when I go next door, there's nothing there. So highlight until you find some value. Oh, look, we found 10. So what we're going to do is take this away and make it 9, and then bring over a 10 to our next column. 13 minus 4, now I can solve that, and that's 9. 9 minus 5 is 4, and I have nothing left. So your final answer is 4,955. And like I had said in my previous videos, your top is going to look a little wonky. However, your original problem was in the bubble over here so that you could refer back to it if you got lost. Our final lesson for Chapter 2 was a word problem lesson. And what's really cool about this lesson is you learn some key terms that will help you with your word problems. So being able to look at keywords and phrases, especially using the cube strategy, makes word problems so much easier to understand. So words like in all or in total mean that we're going to add. Words like less or how much more is going to show us that we need to subtract. Make sure you watch this video from Lesson 9 to know what other key terms can help you with word problems. As we use the cube strategy, we're going to be circling numbers, underlining questions, boxing keywords, evaluating what information we circled, underlined, and boxed, and then solving for our final answer. Sometimes something that can help us, especially with a problem that has multiple steps, is to use an equation. An equation has an equal sign, and a lot of times we use a variable, which is this letter here, to represent the amount we're trying to find. So as I read this problem, Trent's mom gave him $30. He earned another $12 completing chores. Trent spent $15 at the movie theater and $6 on his lunch. How much money does Trent have? What we're going to do is start with the amount that he had. Then he earned 12, so we are adding 12. Then he spent money. Spent is another term that means subtract. So we would subtract 15, and he also spent $6, so we would subtract 6. Now, as I solve this, I would kind of write this out on a piece of paper and say, well, 30 plus 12, that's 42. And then I would subtract 15. Oh my goodness, 42 minus 15, what is that going to be? Well, when I have to regroup and solve, I would get 27. And then I can take 6 away, and 27 minus 6 would be 21. Ta-da! Yes, there's more steps here than what we're used to, but whenever we lay it all out, we can go step by step and find our answer. So then I would say M equals 21. Ooh, I should label my answer. $21. There we go. Okay. Now let's go ahead and look through our vocabulary for today. So this is the part of our video that will help you with your homework for today. So I would go ahead and turn your math books to page 121 so you can do this with me. Okay, so we have, I gotta get my pen ready. Remember, I take forever with my pen, so you gotta try to beat me when I write stuff down. The blank states that for any number, 0 plus that number is the number. Well, if I'm adding 0, If I'm adding 0, that means I'm showing a number's identity. So what I would do is write identity property of addition. You can shorten this to prop and then write everything else, okay? I can only fit identity on here because I have to write big using this mouse thingy-majigger. So identity, showing a number, what it's worth. Okay, I bet you're already done writing identity property of addition. Good job. All right, next up, we have a blank quantity is an amount whose value needs to be found. If it needs to be found, that means we haven't found it yet, so it must be unknown. I'm just going to draw an arrow because I know I'm not going to be able to fit that in that little line. But you can. Do your best. That is a really messed up. I can't even draw an arrow. My goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, next up, if I could scroll, there we go. Number 3, the blank states that the order in which two numbers are added does not change the sum. So if I'm thinking about, no, I need this one. There we go. If I'm thinking about properties, okay, this would kind of be like a key word for one of my properties. When I change the order, that's talking about the commutative property. Commutative. My goodness. I hope your handwriting looks much better than mine on a computer. That's an A. T I V E. Whew, my goodness. Okay. You need to write out commutative prop of addition. You can shorten property, but that's it. The first number in a subtraction sentence from which a second number is to be subtracted. Well, what I want to pay attention to is this, the first number in a subtraction sentence. So when I'm doing something like 9 minus 3, okay, that first number is going to be called the minuend. Minuend, subtrahend, minuend, subtrahend. That's how I remember where they're located. I say minuend with a high voice and subtrahend with a low voice because minuend's on top and subtrahend is on the bottom. The blank states that the grouping of the addends does not change the sum. Again, here is an awesome keyword for you to look for when we're talking about properties. Grouping is talking about those parentheses. Which property uses parentheses? That would be the associative property. The C kind of makes a sh sound. T I V All right. A number that is subtracted from another number. So that would be the second number in a subtraction problem, and that's called the subtrahend. Kind of looks like the word subtraction. I want to give up, but I'm not going to. Cheer me on. Subtrahend. Subtrahend. Woo, this is a workout for my finger. All right. A blank is a symbol, usually a letter, that is used to represent an unknown quantity. Okay? Something that we use instead of like an empty box is called a variable. We use a variable to represent an unknown. So don't get this confused with the term unknown. A variable represents an unknown, but the amount that we're solving for is unknown. So if the word unknown is in your definition, then your term is not unknown, your term is variable. A blank is a sentence that contains an equal sign. What contains an equal sign? You're right, it's an equation. Equation. Woohoo, we finished. Well, I'm trying to finish. It's taking forever. I-O-N. So what you need to do now that you've completed this page with me is you need to turn your page and complete the numbers that are on your Google slide for today. So make sure that you look at which problems you need to solve for on the next 2 pages in your math book, page 122 and 123. And as always, do your best. Good luck.